Guys, let's start with a very interesting story from a quiet borderline. My French stepmother learns the hard way that Americans can cook. This happened today, and my brother and I are still being laughing about it, except Gabrielle, said stepmother, and Dad, who is embarrassed. Dad came into town to visit my brother, let's call him Mark, and me for a few days, and brought Gabrielle with him. Gabrielle has her good traits, but she does have this one really nasty trait. She is notoriously picky critical when it comes to food. You know the stereotypical snooty and rude French character in movies, books who always complains, "That is not how this is done in France." She's this way when it comes to food. Going out to eat with her is embarrassing. She constantly sends back food, is insistent on food being made a certain way, and always demands certain things done a certain way. One time, she asked the waiter to bring some mustard to the table. Not 2 minutes later, she called him back because the mustard is old. Bring us a new, unopened bottle. More than once, I've had to apologize to the waitstaff on my family's behalf and told the manager that I will vouch for them should Gabrielle leave a bad review on their site. She's made waiters and managers cry. She's that bad. Honestly, I have no idea why Dad puts up with her when she does that, even though I know he's just as embarrassed as Mark and I are. We can only chalk it up to Gabrielle having a magical hoo-ha. When they got here yesterday, for some reason, they insisted they wanted to go out to dinner. Dad recommended our new favourite new diner, which is known for its breakfasts at any time of the day. We live close to a major interstate, and the saying about truckers knowing all the best diners and holes in the wall in all 50 states, and then some is true. It's a greasy spoon in every sense of the word. Right out of the 1950s, every leather booth filled with truckers or locals, waitresses who automatically know their regulars' orders by heart and don't put up with crap from anyone. A bustling kitchen, and while spotless, is just worn enough to let you know many people have been there. In other words, it has character. It may not look like a 5-star restaurant. It has some of the best breakfasts you're ever going to eat. I was hesitant to take Gabrielle there, if only because I didn't want to ruin the staff's day. Mark and I have been there enough times that the wait staff cooks know us. However, Dad wanted Gabrielle to experience a true American classic and was offering to pay. So off we, reluctantly, went. Luckily, we got there during a not really busy time, so I told Dad to find a parking spot and I would go in to get us a table. The reason I did this was so I could warn the staff about Gabrielle and apologize in advance for anything she did. Fortunately, our usual waitress, let's call her Mary, thanked me for the warning and warned the rest of the staff. We go in, get our booth, and Gabrielle tries pulling her usual stunts. I won't go into everything she did because we'll be here forever, but I'll leave a highlight reel. One point Gabrielle sent Mary back 3 times with the coffee because, in order, it was too cold, it was too hot, and not enough cream. Finally, Mary, who doesn't let anybody push her around, just slapped the coffee pot on the table along with the cream sugar and told Gabrielle to make do because she wasn't going back to get her damn coffee. This made Mark and me chuckle and Gabrielle steam. 2 while waiting, and probably still stewing from Mary's little comeback with the coffee, Gabrielle decided to accost Stephanie, who had just started, and tell her to get some fresh biscuits. Not ask, tell. Poor Stephanie, who is understandably anxious about her job, does as told, and then Gabrielle made a fuss about the packets of butter not being soft enough, despite Stephanie explaining that all the butter was kept cold for safety reasons. Gabrielle made a snide remark about how Stephanie couldn't wait 5 extra minutes to let the butter soften, which made Stephanie tear up and me about ready to tell Gabrielle to go f*** a French chef if food was that important to her. 3. When our meals did arrive, Gabrielle was quiet during the meal, not making comments. I was unsure what was going to happen as a result. Either she really liked it, which I doubted, seeing as I've never seen her compliment anyone's cooking whenever we've gone out, or she was planning some nasty barb, which I feared. When Mary dropped off the bill, Gabrielle took it before Dad could and said she was paying. Because I was sitting next to her, Gabrielle left a big fat 0 in the tip line and left a note about It's cute that American chefs think they're good cooks when they've never stepped in a real kitchen before. Prove me wrong. Before closing the little book, the receipt came in and hiding it so nobody else could see what she wrote. I was pissed when I read that note and was about ready to slap Gabrielle. I know the chef servers who work at this particular diner learned their skills on the job, and if you ask me, they have every right to be as proud of their work as someone who went to culinary school would be. While I'm looking at going to culinary school myself to become a pastry chef, I respect people who've learned by working in kitchens on the floor because they have first-hand experience. I took out $100 using the ATM at the diner and gave it to the staff as a tip, along with an apology for her behaviour, embarrassed and angry. Fortunately, they didn't hold it against us, except Gabrielle, and told me that Mark and I were always welcome back. I also decided I was going to get back at Gabrielle. There was a benefit to this lockdown. During this time, bored out of our wits and wanting to better our skills, Mark and I have been binge-watching recipe and cooking how to videos online along with practicing. And while I don't like bragging, I'd say we've become quite good. We know how to smoke our own bacon, cure corned beef, make creamy scrambled eggs, and bake flaky croissants. And that's just a sampling. When we got home, I told Mark my plan, and he was grinning ear to ear. The next day, while Gabrielle and Dad still slept, Mark and I got up early and got right to work. We prepared scrambled eggs, home-cured, smoked bacon, biscuits, and a fruit salad. Dad woke up early and smelled the breakfast, waking up Gabrielle by saying that the kids were making breakfast. Dad came downstairs first, and Mark asked him to set the table. Gabrielle came down as we were finishing up, and she sits down, not offering to help. While Gabrielle commented about how it smells just like a restaurant she went to in France and couldn't wait to taste everything, Mark and I served Dad and our plates before putting everything back. Gabrielle looked at us, confused. I looked at her. "Oh, I thought you were going to a French cafe for breakfast," I said. "You did write on the receipt at the diner that you thought it was cute. Americans think they're good cooks if they haven't set foot in a real kitchen, and you wanted someone to prove you wrong." Dad looked at Gabrielle, his eyes wide as all the colour drained from Gabrielle's face. "You wrote what?" "Well, hop to it," I said, sitting down. "Enjoy your French breakfast with your French chefs." Gabrielle's face reddened before she left. I don't know if she was embarrassed or angry, but we were able to have a nice breakfast without any of Gabrielle's complaining. She did come back after getting breakfast and has been nice and quiet all day. Hopefully she's learned her lesson and Dad grows a backbone. Update: January 27th, 21. Ripe my inbox. Holy smokes. I'm glad most of you enjoyed my story and had their own stories to tell about Gabrielle's in their lives. I'm so sorry you have to deal with people like her as well. They really are the worst and give both good French and step-parents a bad lesson. Dad and Gabrielle were supposed to stay with us for a few days before I returned to work next week. All four of us got sick with the bug at one point or another during the last 6 months and have remained symptom-free, thank goodness, so no need for us to quarantine once they arrived. They left this morning, but not before they had a vicious argument last night after my brother and I went to bed. And when I say vicious, I mean it was so loud we could hear every word. Thank God the neighbours couldn't hear, otherwise we might have had the cops called on us. Dad chewed Gabrielle out on what she wrote on the receipt and reminded her that she had promised him she'd be on her best behaviour. After all, this restaurant was special to not just Mark and me, but Dad as well. Gabrielle defended her actions, saying that it was not what she likes, etc., until she finally blew up and revealed the real reason she threw that tantrum in the restaurant. It turned out Dad was planning on surprising Gabrielle on a trip to one of the best restaurants in town to celebrate the anniversary of their first date, which was yesterday. She had found the reservations by accident and thought they were going to it the night they arrived, when he was planning on taking her tomorrow to make it a real surprise. So, us going to the Greasy Spoon instead of the super nice expensive restaurant really upset her, and she thought he was catering to his kids instead of her. The argument finally ended when Dad took to the couch downstairs, fed up with her BS. So they left this morning. Dad did tell me before they left that he was going to have a serious talk with Gabrielle about her behavior, and that until she learned her manners, he was not going to take her out anymore, even to our place. Hopefully that will be either the wake-up call to Gabrielle to behave, or to Dad that he should get out. Oh, and to those who said this story is fake, one person asking how we were able to smoke bacon, for your info, we have a pellet grill smoker and we constantly are curing and smoking bacon because it's so good. Don't you guys have anything better to do? The malicious compliance was perfect. OP and his brother outmaneuvered Gabrielle's snobbery with skill and patience, letting her own words trap her. The breakfast revenge was subtle yet devastating, forcing her to face her arrogance. The next story from Trex Bunny 79. Lazy manager learns how not to treat a dependable employee. Working in retail most of my life, I have encountered some really bad managers. As such, I know I became a pretty petty employee and I've served up some sweet malicious compliance in my day. This is by far my favorite story though, because it even has a touch of petty revenge. TL. DR at bottom. Years ago, when I was just a newlywed, I worked for an auto parts retailer. We serviced professional garages as well as walk-in customers. My job was as a merchandiser. This meant it was my duty to keep up with displays and inventory. I checked in shipments and put them away every day. I put up the sales images in the windows, and when areas needed to be changed, stock moved, new price labels put up, etc., that was my job. Those tasks didn't usually take all day. I could get them done in a few hours. The rest of my day was spent working the counter, answering calls, helping customers, cleaning, and getting to take the delivery truck out to deliver parts to the garages. Driving deliveries was the best. I could listen to the radio, have a soda, and visit with the clients. But I had the misfortune of working for the laziest manager I've ever known. We'll call him LM for short. Seeing a trustworthy worker who had a good relationship with the clients, LM began putting more responsibilities on me. Time wore on, and my job description was forgotten. I started having to answer his emails, deal with the interstore and corporate memos that came in, and running deposits to the bank when the assistant manager wasn't there. Meh, this wasn't a big deal. It took maybe 45 minutes at most each day, and I wasn't having to deal with the often misogynistic walk-in customers. So I didn't mind. Then came the day our assistant manager left. I can't remember if he quit or got a transfer or what, long time ago doesn't matter. LM decides, since I'm so dependable, to give me keys to the store and start scheduling ME to close so he can go home to his wife and kids. Hey, it's more hours, so I don't mind at first. And he dangles that lovely promotion over my head. Ooh, the thought of a raise had me jumping because, as I said, I was a newlywed and we were saving to buy a house. The promotion never came. According to LM, I didn't have the required ASE certification to be an assistant manager. So I was still on payroll as a merchandiser despite the fact that I was now. Opening the store, 6:30 a.m. Closing the store, there till after 10 p.m. some nights. Making deposits. Making sure all the drawers had proper change. Handling emails, answering interstore and corporate memos. Checking in stock and controlling inventory. Making sure the store looked as it should. Still handling the counter to cover lunch breaks for everyone else. Still making deliveries, handling the majority of the professional client accounts. Handling employment applications and interviews for new hires. Entering the schedule and adjusting payroll for all the other employees. I was full on doing the assistant manager job with nothing to show for it except circles under my eyes because LM was constantly changing my schedule to suit his needs. Anytime I tried to tweak the schedule to give myself even 2 days off in a row, he'd come in behind me and change it. All he basically did was cover for me on my rare days off and spent most of his day with customers or going out for professional visits with a couple of clients who were friends of his. LM's attitude nearly cost us some of our big accounts, but since I was constantly driving a delivery truck on top of everything else, I had a better relationship with most of the clients. We're in the South. Even grease monkeys won't be rude to a lady. I was able to get them to keep their business with us. It helped that I was a slightly plump and sweet-faced young woman. My calming manner and reasonable politeness could always calm them down. But you're waiting for malicious compliance. Here it comes. Our store got a major revamp. We're talking overtime, new displays, grand reopening. It was huge. This also occurred around the same time as the big yearly week-long management conference. So my hours skyrocketed. After LM got back from the management conference, he took off for another week to spend time with his family, leaving me in charge again. It was pure hell. For 2 months, I worked practically non-stop. I think in a 90-day period after that grand reopening, I had 3 days off. The last straw came when I opened a corporate memo reminding LM that his ASE certification had never been completed and he needed to contact them about setting up a time for the test. What? All this time and he wasn't even certified either? I was done. It was time to lay it on the line. After a late night close where I didn't get home until 11 p.m., I was back in the store at 6:30 a.m. to open. I hadn't had a full day off in 3 weeks at this point. I was doing my usual duties, getting ready for the other employees to show up when in walks LM. You know how this goes. I won't insult your intelligence. LM. Oh, hey, I just wanted to drop in and remind you to make sure you do the payroll today. Me? Of course I'm going to do payroll today. It's on my list. Note, I'm speaking in a sleep-deprived, depressed tone because I was completely exhausted. LM. Good, and I saw there's some new display materials still back here. You should have gotten that done already. Me? We were slammed yesterday and had 2 guys call in sick. I didn't have time. I'll get it done. Hey, listen, I've been meaning to ask you. I know we don't have anyone else asking for time off right now. I've got time saved up and I could really use a vacation. LM? Cuts me off. No. Me. What? LM. No way. I need you here. My anniversary is next week and I promised my wife. Me? I cut him off. Seriously? Everybody else here gets to take long weekends or full weeks of vacation and I'm burning out. I've been working near solid for the last 3 months, including the whole weekend of my husband's birthday. LM. Well, I'm the boss and I get to say who gets vacation. You can have Sunday off or something. It was Tuesday, I think, can't remember, but Sunday was several days away. Me? So done with his crap, I start raising my voice. No, that's not good enough. I'm tired, I'm worked to the bone, and I'm answering calls at my own house with our business name. You go home every night to your wife and kids, and a clean house, and supper waiting and your laundry done, and there's no one at my house doing that while I'm here 60 hours a week. I want my vacation, and you're going to approve it. Either that, or you sit down here right now and put in for my raise and a promotion. LM. You can't just make demands like that. You don't have the ASE certification anyway. I can't just hand you a promotion. You need to calm down. Me? Gritting my teeth at this point and ready to shove that corporate memo down his throat. Just give me a set schedule and a long weekend then. I need more than 1 day off a month. LM. Laughs at me. Ha, that's not how this works. I need you here and I'll schedule you when I need you. If you want a set schedule and a raise, you might as well look for another job. Now, little note, I kept my keys to the store on a special little keychain that I always clipped to my belt loop. When he said that, it was malicious compliance time. I jerked the keys off my belt loop and threw them at him. Me? Fine, I will. Run it your damn self. I turn and start walking to the back door. LM. Hey, get back here. You're scheduled to work today. I'm not even supposed to be here. He probably should have thought of that before he decided to drop in on me on his day off. I'm out the door and heading to my car, fuming. He's at the door with my keys in his hand. LM, what are you doing? Me? What does it look like I'm doing? I'm quitting. You told me to look for another job, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I drove off, leaving him in the parking lot, gaping at me like a goldfish. When I got home, he was already calling, and my husband had picked up. The idiot was actually asking my husband if I'd really quit, and if I'd come back into work, maybe once I'd calmed down. I ended up being contacted at home by the district manager. I told him everything. He admitted that ASE certification was only really required for managers and there was no reason I shouldn't have been promoted to assistant. I brought up that I should really just lawyer up and sue them for gender discrimination. He offered me a generous severance package if I promised not to sue. I was so tired and done with the whole company that I agreed. I got my last 60-plus hour paycheck mailed to me, and then also got a second check for 80 hours of paid vacation. The LM had to run the place by himself for a couple days until the district manager got him help. He didn't last with the company very long after that. TL. Doctor. Extremely overworked me asks for vacation or promotion to compensate for the hard work. Lazy manager refuses, tells me if I want better hours or pay to look for another job. I quit on the spot to go look for another job. Edit. For those wondering why I didn't get the ASE certification, it requires a certain amount and type of work experience that I did not have. I couldn't have qualified for it or tested for it, even if he'd allowed me the time off to go and sit for the test. Google it sometime. The malicious compliance was perfect. OP followed LM's own words, quitting immediately when told to find another job. The swift exit left LM scrambling, exposing his incompetence. OP's bold move, followed by a satisfying severance deal, made for a flawlessly executed revenge.